Alright, so go through any comment section about Modern Warfare, go through any Twitter thread about it, go to Reddit, go anywhere, and you'll see people saying that Modern Warfare looks like Rainbow Six Siege. People are also comparing it to Battlefield, which blows my mind as well. But let's talk about this for a second because it angers me to no end, and I think it'd be fun to just run my mouth about it. First things first, if you think that Rainbow Six Siege and Modern Warfare bear any sort of resemblance to each other past the fact that they're first person, modern day, and have guns in them, then there's something wrong with you. So let's get that out of the way real fast, okay? Now that we have established that there's something wrong with you, we can move on to why. The first part is understanding that you have a problem, then we can work on fixing it. And the problem might stem from the fact that you either don't play COD, or you don't play Siege, or you don't play Battlefield. Oh god, it's probably one of those three, but we're gonna try to pinpoint which one of those this is. So Rainbow Six Siege has some very distinct design choices. From destructible environments, indoor-based maps that focus on attack and defense, no respawns, team killing, and operators that have abilities that can change the way the game plays. Whether that ability is nanobots that rush through your teammates' veins giving them extra health, or it's something simple like an exothermic charge you can place on a metal wall. Siege also has a distinct meta that involves gunplay that involves one-shot headshots. Every gun in Rainbow Six Siege will one-shot to the head. From a 9mm to an actual sniper rifle, they will one-shot to the head no matter what. But let's first talk about the fact that Rainbow Six Siege has distinct stiff movements. Your character in Siege does not bounce everywhere when they move around. In fact, when you aim down sight and move in Rainbow Six Siege, you'll notice your sight doesn't move at all unless you go over some bumpy terrain. Because Siege is all about accuracy, not spray and pray. Siege does not give you any advanced movement options like sliding or jumping for that matter. You can mantle, but you are not allowed to jump. The most advanced thing you can do in Siege is lay on your back and shoot between your feet, but that's it. You can also repel if you're on the attacking team, and that's another big distinguishing factor is that there are operators for the attacking team and defending team, and they both have gadgets that allow them to play the objectives differently on maps that usually, I think most of them, like 90% of them, have an outside area and then a building, and then you have to pose some sort of dynamic assault on the building with your team. And you have to use your abilities to take out opponents, track them down, capture objectives, whatever it might be. But in the Modern Warfare gameplay we saw a 2v2 type of game mode on these small, primarily outdoor maps that have nothing to do with attack or defense at all. And I would say the only thing that stood out to me was that your health doesn't regen specifically in that mode, specifically in that game mode. They said that several times, you would know if you watched. Your health doesn't regen in that mode, and then also there's no minimap in that mode, again, mode specific. And let me think, you don't respawn when you die in that mode. So, I mean, it's basically Rainbow Six Siege. Oh, except for the fact that Siege would never allow you to slide around a corner with an LMG and mow down somebody sitting in a corner. Just this clip here of TP bouncing around with his M14 should let you know that this is not really anything like Siege. It's nothing like it. It's absolutely nothing like it, and you would have to just not play either of them. You'd have to only be looking at them passively. You'd have to just see them from a distance and be like, oh yeah, I saw Siege has modern day guns and the ability to lean, this is that. Yeah, no, see, now Siege allows you to lean on console when you're aiming down sight and on PC whenever you want. So that's an important thing to realize because Modern Warfare here has a contextual lean. And you're thinking, well, that's Battlefield, right? Battlefield has the contextual lean, so that's where the Battlefield comparison starts to come in. No, because Call of Duty Ghosts had a contextual lean. So there's that. I could get into the fact that PC Call of Duty's let players lean for a long time, but that's also not really an important thing to point out, so whatever. So saying how we don't have an attack or defense thing, there's no operators with their own abilities, there's no one-shot headshots, there's no stiff, distinct movements that allow you to get your one-shot headshots easily, people are able to run around and slide and jump however they want. You would think that'd be enough for people to not think that this is Siege, but apparently they also think it's Battlefield, and that really perplexes me. And I think I kind of know where this is coming from. It's kind of a normie comparison, but I'll give it to you. Hate to be condescending, but what you're seeing is more dynamic motion. So The character has more screen shake. The character's gun and arms and hands move around more. And they're certainly proud of this because there's going to be 3 motion blur options. Full motion blur, which some people might like. Then there's gun motion blur, which will motion blur, I imagine, your hands and gun. And then there's going to be completely, turn it off. You just turn off motion blur, and apparently that looks better. I don't know. We'll see what I like. So they're trying to also accentuate their new motion. Like, they just added more dynamic motion. And yes, Battlefield's been doing that for a while, and I think it's cool that Call of Duty's following suit. As long as it doesn't interrupt the tight feeling of Call of Duty, that'll be fine. If Call of Duty still feels tight, and the people that played it said it does. It looks different, but as soon as you get into gunfights and you do like the sprint, break your sprint by ADSing, and start shooting somebody, that just feels like Call of Duty apparently, and that's what I care about. The fact that people are judging Modern Warfare so much from a 2v2 game mode on 3 maps with random classes or procure on-site weapons, it just boggles my mind. Will people say the same thing when we see larger maps with like Team Deathmatch or like Domination? Are people really gonna be like, oh my god, that is Rainbow Six Siege all the way, 6v6 respawn game modes with no unique operators that have their own abilities? Good lord, that is Siege 110. Leaning does not copy Siege. Having more dynamic motion on your character and weapon does not mean you're Battlefield. Having prettier graphics doesn't make you look like something else. If anything, this looks like Call of Duty Ghosts and Modern Warfare Remastered had a weird baby. Even its color palette is almost like directly ripped from Modern Warfare Remastered. Like, it's very eerie how close they are in their color schemes and art presentation. The game even had Call of Duty Ghosts like countdown noises. Like, it's very, very clearly inspired by Ghosts and Modern Warfare. It's called Modern Warfare. It's rebooting the series, and it's a reboot of COD 4. And there's clearly some things they've taken from Titanfall, because the guy that went from, working in Infinity Ward to working with Respawn Entertainment and now back to Infinity Ward brought over some things, from some sprinting animations to third-person assassinations. And you could say that maybe Titanfall copied that from Halo, and maybe I wouldn't disagree with you. But speaking of Halo, this all reminds me of when Advanced Warfare was coming out and everybody compared it to Halo. For a while I had struggled with like, does mankind really need another Holocaust? Probably not. They're pretty horrendous. And then people compared Advanced Warfare to Halo because there's laser weapons and you can jump high. As if Halo is, well, Halo 5 fucked us a little bit on this one, but as if Halo has been known for thruster jumping and dashing side to side and killing somebody in 3 bullets with an SMG. I don't have to tell you guys that Advanced Warfare is nothing like Halo. I don't have to tell you guys that Call of Duty and Halo have very little comparisons, other than the fact that Infinite Warfare definitely took some art design from the Bungie guys that were working at Activision at the time. Other than that, I really can't see a whole lot of comparisons to Halo and Advanced Warfare or Infinite Warfare when it comes to how the goddamn game plays. Are you really going to compare, imagine looking at a 2v2 in Call of Duty, because it has contextual leaning and clearly has pretty graphics and more motion on the character's weapons and hands. Like, imagine thinking, well, that's just Battlefield, that's just Rainbow Six Siege all the way. Like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed and mad, and that really bothers me because I don't want to be, but I know people are looking for a reason to pick on this game. I remember because of how Infinite Warfare was handled by the community, that people will look to bitch about anything. I heard every complaint imaginable about Infinite Warfare when it came out. I heard every complaint, and most of them were completely unfounded, from saying it plays like Halo to it's got pay-to-win weapons in it, which were just not true. And I'll tell you what, even if Modern Warfare, when they reveal the multiplayer, shows off destructible environments, I'm still not going to say, oh, that's Battlefield and Siege. Because I'm just going to assume that they're trying to evolve what they attempted with Call of Duty Ghosts, which was to add a new dynamic into Call of Duty while keeping it subtle, because destructible maps in general would kind of break up the flow of COD in a lot of ways. But I'm not going to cry, oh, that's Battlefield, that's Siege, because I can punch a hole in a wall or breach a door, because that was literally in Call of Duty Ghosts. Same with contextual leaning, okay? This game is bouncy and slidey, even more so than I think maybe they want for what they were trying to like sell it as like kind of a more realistic tactical game. Seeing people like, like change their slide direction and like do all that shit's kind of Matrixy. Doesn't really look great in this setting. I mean, in the Black Ops settings, was all kind of like sci-fi or Infinite Warfare or Advanced Warfare. It made sense, but I think they should go back to the Call of Duty Ghost slide. That's a little bit more practical. It's a little bit more like, oh, you know, I slide like a couple feet forward. It can get me through a doorway or something. Honestly, I wouldn't mind a dolphin dive option as well, because there's going to be bouncing Bettys, and I'd love to be able to just go, oh, nope, not today, but whatever. But anyway, thank you for coming to my rant. I just am so confused as to why people look for the dumbest comparisons in gaming. Like, people were surprised, oh, Black Ops 4 is copy and paste Black Ops 3. I'm like, it's the same series, it's a prequel, so yeah, that makes sense. Crysis 2 and 3 look similar. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 look similar. They're similar in lots of ways. It's almost like it's the same franchise. It's almost like it's the same group of people working on the same game a couple years apart from each other. That makes sense. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But if you're gonna tell me that, no, I'm wrong, it does look like Siege, I'm just gonna dismiss your comment altogether. I am, because I play too much Siege and too much Call of Duty to give that the time of day. And I'm just gonna assume you're trying to bait me. You know, kind of a world is flat type of thing. I'm gonna assume most people don't actually believe the world is flat, but they really want attention and they want to trigger people. But if that was your goal, you succeeded, but it stops now. See you when I see you. Chair pop. Goodbye.
Fuck. No, he's in the front entryway to the kitchen, next to the bathroom. No, he's in the See, I freaking shot the storage container so I didn't kill him. Nice. That Ash literally ran right by me and was just watching through the door between Sunrise and Kitchen. She didn't even see me at all, so I just turned around and shot her in the head.